Welcome everybody to Sin City Living. My name is Jason and I'll be bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content for you guys coming out every single week, every single day generally. Occasionally miss a day like I did during the rodeo that is still ongoing right now. And I hope all of our patrons out there are appreciating the patron-only exclusive videos we're putting out with the dice class, putting one out every couple of weeks. And if you're curious about that, go ahead and check the description down below. Once I get this whole live stream thing figured out, I'm probably going to do a live stream on the patron site as well. One on the regular site, one on the patron site. I do have the new computer for it. Theoretically, I have everything ready. I'm just so busy currently with this rodeo. And one of our fans asked a question a little while back about ways to tip us, to show appreciation to us without having to sign up as one of our patrons. And at the time we did not have any way of doing it, but I have managed now to get us signed up with a site called Buy Me a Coffee. As I'm sure some of you guys have noticed from some of our videos, Louie and I are both pretty heavy coffee drinkers. So if you're curious about that as well, go ahead and check down below in the description as well. We would definitely appreciate any cups of coffee you're willing to pick up for us. And don't forget to email us with any strategies, questions, suggestions, anything at all. We love shooting those videos for you guys. I actually haven't gotten a new email in about 2 weeks. And also, don't forget, anybody that may be interested in one of the small Sin City Living neons that we have, just email us that as well, sincityliving@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get into today's episode. So for today's video, we are going to answer some questions that were emailed to us by one of our fans. This email comes from Vaughn. Thank you very much for sending the email. It's been really dry on emails lately, so I'm glad to see a couple of them coming in. And okay, let's jump to it. Let's see what these questions are. Okay, so the first one is just any high roller stories. The thing is, with high rollers, it's all a matter of perspective. There's casinos where a high roller is someone that has $1,000 buy-in. There's casinos that a high roller is someone with a $100,000 line of credit. There's casinos with that a high roller is someone with a $10 million line of credit, and a $100,000 line of credit is just another Tuesday. So it's really hard to really identify what a high roller is. Where I work at, we don't have a private salon or anything like that, so we don't get the $50 million line of credit type players. But okay, I do have one fairly interesting story, one little minor story. One of our regulars, one of our better liked regulars, a while back, this is a few years back, was in town for his birthday. And he doesn't play craps. He mostly plays blackjack. I think he plays a couple other table games, but he's mostly blackjack. And he's a super nice guy. Has a pretty hefty line of credit. And he came in one weekend for his birthday. And the very first day, he caught a pretty good streak. And he's one of those that tends to. It comes real close to almost 50-50 tipping the staff. Well, his first day was so good. And so strong that he decided that the second day, and he actually made this comment, that the second day he wanted to personally drop a tip in the six figures. And it was almost like a running tally throughout the day, trying to see if he managed to get there. He did not end up getting there, but he ended up getting very close to it. So yeah, that's one of the more interesting ones. And the funny thing about that is a coworker of mine, a friend of mine, had quit the week before, like 4 days before this guy came in. So he ended up quitting 4 days before we had a guy try and set a record. We will tell some other high roller stories and big action stories and just weird stories, but we're probably going to do that as a crossfire episode where we're going to include Louie and some of the others into it. So I'm going to go on to question number 2. So question number 2. How do casinos decide what craps layout they want to use? And it does ask about the side bets and stuff like that. So yes, casinos do have to pay a fee for side bets. If there are side bets, and I'm not talking just craps. I mean, not just like the all tall, all small, make 'em all, or the repeater, or fire bet, things along those lines. But even on blackjack, when you play blackjack and you see pair squared or king's bounty, royal match, for every single one of those layouts, the casino is paying a licensing fee, most likely a monthly licensing fee, to the owner of that particular side bet. All these side bets were created by somebody, and either they still own the rights to it or they sold the rights to a company that now owns the rights. But in order to have those side bets, you actually have to pay for the rights to them. As far as the layouts themselves go, generally the casinos design their own layouts. Now, this part right here is pretty standard. I have actually seen some variations of this, but this part is fairly standard. There's some relatively standardized stuff such as C&Es and things along those lines, but generally the casinos will go through it and they will design the layout how they want the layout to be depending on what type of game they want. So my thoughts on the small craps tables, little buckets, the tubs, with one or two dealers and just enough space for a couple of players. I really don't have any thoughts on those. I've seen them, but I haven't played in them. You're really only going to see them in one of two spots. You're going to see them at extremely small, extremely tucked away, very, very far off strip casinos, the type of casinos where if you buy it for $500, you're pretty much a high roller. They don't get a lot of craps action, but they want to have craps, so they'll have those tubs. The other spot you're likely to see it, and it's slightly larger format, is some of the private salons. Some private salons in casinos will have smaller tables for private games, for players that are playing a $50 million game or something like that. It's only going to have spots for 4 or 5 players. It'll be a smaller layout, smaller table just to have a couple of dealers. You may on occasion go into a slower casino, especially on graveyard or slow early morning, and see just 2 dealers on a game. We call that a half table game. We'll close one side and just allow players on the other side. But yeah, I don't really have any thoughts either way on the tubs. Here's one. Why is there a C&E section when there's why is there a C&E section when there's already a horn bet section? And is the E redundant? The E is absolutely redundant. However, a C&E and a horn bet are two very, very, very different bets. A horn bet requires a $4 minimum bet and is betting $1 on the 2, the 3, the 11, and the 12. It is hopping each one of those numbers. A C&E is a $2 minimum bet and is betting $1 on the 11, hopping the 11, and then $1 on the any crap. And the any crap is not a hop bet. It is combining 3 different numbers into one bet, which is why the odds are different, and the payouts are different and lower as well. And the C&E spot, just like the horn spot, is there as a courtesy spot and an ease of use spot. The horn bet spot is redundant. There's already a spot for 2s, 3s, 11s, and 12s. So when someone bets a $4 horn bet, we could set it up, and we have in the past set it up as $1.02, $1.03, $1.11, $1.12. Same thing with horn highs. There's already a spot for all those bets. But because they are bet with such frequency, it's much easier to have their own dedicated spot where we can keep the chips in one spot. And same thing with the C&E. It is bet with such frequency that it's easiest if we have a separate spot, a separate dedicated spot for it. Okay, and then thoughts on pressing the 5 and 9 place bet. I usually don't put more than the minimum just because I like having lots of numbers, but I feel guilty about pressing, especially when the 6 and 8 have such a lower house edge, or even buying the 4 and 10. Okay, thoughts on pressing the 5 and 9 are the exact same as my thoughts on pressing any other number. If it hits, I'm going to put at least a little bit of my winnings onto that number. So in the hopes that it hits again, I get paid even more. Remember, guys, my goal is generally to bum rush to table max as fast as possible. Things like the power press method are fantastic when you look at them and say those hour and a half long rolls where every bet is at table max. But that's actually not my goal. I'm really looking for that 10, 12 minute roll where the 5 just happened to roll 7 times. It happens. It doesn't happen with great frequency. It happens fairly rare, but it happens. And it happens with more frequency than an hour and a half roll. I can guarantee you that, or even an hour roll. So that's my goal. I'm trying to press each number in the hopes that that particular number just breaks statistics and rolls far more than it should. And it can happen with any number. I've seen a 4 roll 4 times in a row. All I needed was 2 more hits on it and I'd be at table max. If I was doing the power press. If I was doing the mid press, and I'm about 50-50 on power press and mid press. If I was doing the mid press, it would take me a little bit longer. But that's my thought is if you're going to press numbers, press the numbers. I mean, there's nothing special about the 4 and 10 and the 6 and 8 over the 5 and 9. So if you're going to press, go for it. And the last one. Let's see. Oh, this one I really like. Is it helpful to the dealers if I set my chips in order so they can place them across? For instance, if I wanted 36 action, 18 on the 6 and 8, should I stack my chips 3 red, 3 white, 3 red, 3 white? No. It is definitely not helpful for the dealers. For most dealers. Some dealers, sure, they may be able to use it. But in general, if you put this down in front of me, sure, some dealers may look at it and go, okay, yeah, I can just do that. But in general, if you put this down in front of me, we're going to pick it up this way. We're going to split it because this is reflexively how we are trained to do it. And how we do it on 90% of our bets is to have the lower denomination in our outside hand and the higher denomination in our inside hand. So the easiest thing is to actually just give it to us in a stack like that so we can pick it up and just go without having to stop and look at it. If you give it to me like this, the first thing I do, if I don't want to separate them, the first thing I have to do is I have to stop and look at it. And also, a 6-check drop cut is not a standard drop cut for us. So it's not something that I can just do instinctively. So I'm going to have to stop, look at it, and go, okay, yeah, that works out. And then I'm going to have to deliberately cut it out. And then I have to go back through and I have to set up the caps. It's actually going to be easier and faster for me if you just give it to me in a way that I can just grab it and go. So it is most definitely easier to not give it to me set up that way. Don't give me a barber pole. Just go ahead and give me the checks stacked up in their denominations for sure. That actually also applies to, let's see here. Okay. Here's one for you. I see people do this. Drives me absolutely nuts. Player wants 52 across. Right? But what they say is, I want a 10, a 9, a 4, a 5. For some reason, people always do the outside first. And a 6. And we look at it and go, okay, yeah, that was fantastic, great. And we stack it all back up, because we don't have 5 hands. We stack it all back up. At best, we may split it into 2. For just 52 across, I'm more likely to just grab it this way and then 3 change and done. So just stack it up. Just stack it up. It's going to be the absolute easiest thing for us. So thank you guys very much, everybody, for watching. Much thanks to those of you guys that have bought us a cup of coffee already. And because I definitely have to tell you that as a dealer, full-time dealer, plus this channel, plus a child, I pretty much exist off of coffee, nicotine, and probably a little bit of my old airborne spite. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you, Vaughn, for sending this to me. I appreciate it very much. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. So, as I promised, I wanted to go over very briefly our upcoming attempts at a third test live stream. So what's happened so far? The first test live stream just flat didn't work. The problem that I had was was an equipment problem. I had an equipment problem in that the equipment that I was using to translate the camera into streamable video to the computer required a better USB port than the computer I was using at the time. So that one just flat failed because it would not translate into the computer. The computer would not pick it up, would not read it, so I wasn't able to live stream it. So then, as I was looking through, because I'm a little bit of a tech head, as I was looking through all of my other stuff, because I do have 4 laptops here and 3 computers, I did find one that actually did have the newer style USB port. Unfortunately, it was actually my oldest laptop, but I figured, what the heck, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And this time around, when I fired everything up, the video was actually translating onto the computer, so things were looking better. But then when I attempted to live stream, the computer was not powerful enough to be able to translate it and then upload it sufficiently. So it basically just uploaded a blank screen for the live stream. So what I am going to have to do is, and I'm already looking into all of my options, I'm going to upgrade my computer so I can add, what, a 7th, 8th computer to my household. And I'm going to go much, much higher, and I'm going to get a computer that is far more than I need for this, far, far, far more powerful than I need for this. That way, any future upgrades that I may do, the computer will be able to handle it. So unfortunately, this computer is going to cost me about 25% more, about 25% of what I've already laid out in all the equipment for this channel. So it wasn't something I could just instantly buy. I'm probably looking at Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So hopefully I have it within the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do another test live stream and see if I can go from there. So I will definitely do at least one weekly live stream on our Patreon because they're the ones that are really helping us get this computer. And the other equipment that I'm going to get, because I figure if I'm buying the computer, I might as well buy the most high-end capture cards and things along those lines, get everything as good as possible, and then hopefully eventually get a better microphone for you guys. So yeah, that's where we stand on the live stream. As soon as I have the computer and I do the test, which will be in a few weeks, like I said, got to order it in a week or two, then I have to wait for it to ship. Plus we have probably the biggest event of the year coming up, the NFR National Finals Rodeo. So I'm basically working 2 weeks straight, as is my wife. So not going to have a whole lot of time. But once we get all that under control, then we'll figure out. There's been some schedule changes to myself, some schedule changes to my wife, and some upcoming schedule changes to my wife as well. So hopefully we can get all the scheduling figured out so I know when I'll be able to live stream as well. My initial plan of Thursdays at 6 o'clock is already out the window. I'm at work at that point now. So we will get it all figured out, and we will let you guys know, I promise. And otherwise, I hope you guys have found this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.